Hey guys, welcome to my current testing world, coming at you with a new and improved kelp farm design. You can see I've actually got layouts of different styles that I was messing around with. The style that I've finally settled on is about 160% more productive than the current standard, which is this one here, where you have the kelp growing on top of the observers, and then it grows up into the sticky pistons, and then once it passes the observer, it fires, and the water or the kelp floats up and then flows sideways into a hopper system. My current design, for the exact same space, I have 5 different testing pools here that are all the exact same, but for the design that I settled on, which is just, the most basic one, it's a pool with a bunch of kelp in the bottom. I get about 160% the amount of kelp that I do in my new design versus the standard one. I think that comes down to the fact that on the standard one, there are just these 3 rows that don't have any kelp growing in it, because if they grow there, then it's going to disrupt these top water streams. And so that's an obvious efficiency issue. You can see that this one just fired. But the new design that I have figured out how to use uses what is classically called a flying machine. However, since it's underwater, I don't really think it's flying, so maybe like a swimming machine? Something like that. And I just have it set up on a simple hopper clock, so when this block pulses, I think I have a full 5 stacks in there. Yeah, it's about to fire. It'll go ahead, send a pulse through. The flying machine will scoot across, and ta-da! It harvests all the kelp. That end just sends it straight back. If we're going to be doing a longer one, which I will be doing in this tutorial, I'm actually going to have hopper clocks on both sides, so that way when it just goes to the other side, it'll sit there and rest until it gets fired again. But this is a very efficient design. I haven't had any issues with it breaking or having any issues. I AFK'd here. I did 6 different tests with it, just comparing the different designs. I wanted to see if, similar to the land crops, where if you interspace them, like if you interspace carrots and potatoes, they grow faster. So I tried it with sea pickles, this is seagrass here, and then coral fans. You can't use coral blocks because coral blocks will stick to slime blocks and then break the entire farm. But I actually found that these other 3 tended to produce roughly the same, which indicates that there's no difference. And then the one that was just all kelp, of course, produced more because there were more kelp plants, and there wasn't really any comparison to be made there. So I am going to show you guys how to build this very simple kelp farm. It produces more than you will ever need, but if you really want to, you could build multiple decks with multiple flying machines in it, or you could just do what I'm going to do and just make one of these just really long. So why don't we go ahead and jump into this system. So to start off, here's a general overview of the different blocks that you're going to need. I like having glass on the sides so I can see when it's running and if there are any issues in it. You'll need some just standard building blocks. I'm going to use white concrete because it's easy to see and distinguish. You'll also need, I use oak leaves, but you could also use like furnaces or hoppers. Basically, you need a block that does not stick to slime. So if you just Google immovable Minecraft blocks, anything from that list will work. You'll also need your kelp that you're going to plant. You have to start off with some, that way it can grow up and then you can harvest it. I'm going to put a smoker in the output. That way, all the kelp that comes right out will be fed into the smoker and then come through the system as dried kelp. And then at the end, I can go ahead and craft that into blocks and then refuel the system to keep it churning forever. I'm also going to have some output chests. You could have a lot. You could have a double chest. When I ran it, it produced about, this small design produced about 600-ish kelp an hour. So keep that in mind. That's about 7-ish stacks, give or take. You're going to need some slabs temporarily in the top to get the water streams. You're going to need water, so since I'm in survival, I can just have one water bucket, but you're going to need a bunch of water. I like having a lever, that way I can turn the system on and off. Disclaimer, if you do leave the system off before you start running again, make sure that the top water streams are flowing, otherwise the kelp can grow up and actually disrupt this top water layer. It's fairly easy to reset, you just have to keep an eye out for it. For the flying machines themselves, you need sticky pistons, slime blocks, and observers. If you're going to do hopper clocks, similar to what I've done, you're going to need some hoppers, a redstone block, you can reuse the observer, a comparator, and then some redstone dust just to wire it up to the whole system. You'll also need a couple blocks of obsidian to stop the flying machines, since obsidian cannot be pushed. The machine will come in and actually just dock here and not break anything else. So the trick with this one, systems that I've seen before, when the flying machine goes through, this level doesn't get the water sources back, and so the kelp isn't able to regrow, or doesn't grow as quickly, and doesn't float up to the surface since it needs water source blocks in order for it to float. And we overcame that by adding a source block out here on each side, which then goes ahead and refills that level so that there's no issues with the kelp just getting stuck in the system itself. So why don't we go ahead and jump into this? I'm going to make this new system a bit longer than that one, but the same principle applies. You can make it however long you want, but the kelp bed itself must be 7 wide. That is the maximum length of water streams, and so that's how far you can make it. So why don't we go ahead and start. Grab some obsidian real quick. Okay. So to get started here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to make a post here. So 1, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to have our other post, and that's the basic width of the band. And this does need to be grass or leaf blocks. That way, when the flying machine comes in and docks right here, it doesn't try and move these blocks at all. That's the nice thing with leaf blocks. I'm just going to go ahead. Actually, not. These ones on the side here will come out 1. We're going to go just like this. And 1, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leads. 1 solid block, your choice. And then we'll go back down and down. And ta-da. That's your basic kelp bed right there. So you can go ahead, fill this in. Go, and it should fill in and make this all source blocks. Perfect. Then we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll just plant this entire bed full of kelp. Cut back here once I've gotten that all done. Okay, so we've got our bed full of kelp done. You'll notice, or I want to point out, that there is an open water source on each side of this. So where we dipped out at the end with our concrete here, this column is going to be completely blank. Just that's where the water stream will end. So don't plant any kelp in this row. You will not be able to harvest it using this machine. So then what we're going to go ahead and do, again, I like using glass on the side, just that way I can watch the machine, make sure that it's working okay, make sure that the kelp doesn't get stuck anywhere in the middle of it. But what I'm going to do, or what we should do now, we're going to go ahead and build up glass walls around it. So we'll go ahead and fill in all the way along these the two long sides. Hold off doing the short ends with the leaf blocks just yet. Those ones need a little bit extra attention because they need to get fitted around the flying machine. That way it doesn't stick and pull the glass blocks out of the wall. And also that way we can put the water streams in and make sure that everything is fitting and then refilling itself as it goes. So we'll cut back here once I get all of these, the glass sides done. See you in just a minute. Okay, so now that we've got our two sides here built up, why don't we go ahead, we'll build our flying machine device next. It's very easy to build these things. You just have to make sure that you build the docking station in the right area, and you want to make sure that you use obsidian to stop it from pushing through. If you just use leaf blocks, it'll destroy the leaf blocks and the machine will just keep flying until it hits something that it cannot push. So we will go ahead and build our first station over here. Go ahead and grab our obsidian. And you want to make sure that when the flying machine is docked here, you want to make sure that it's flush with the side of the grass block or the leaf blocks. So I found that it works really well just to put the mechanism off to one side. I don't know if that's super necessary, like if you could just put the flying machine device in the middle of it, but I like putting it off to the side. I've had the least amount of issues with doing it like this. So the way flying machines work is you have your basic device here, which is a 2x2. You have 2 sticky pistons and 2 slime blocks kitty corner to each other. And then on top of each of the slime blocks, you want to put an observer so that his little butt powers this piston. And then his little butt will power this piston. And because they're on the slime blocks, they will go ahead and get pulled along with the machine and continue to pulse the device back and forth. But as you can see, it's flush with this obsidian, which is exactly what we want. So that way when it comes in, it will be docked just like this. So we will go ahead and place a leaf block here and a leaf block here. This way, with however whatever blocks can touch slime, you want to make sure that it's something that the slime cannot pull with it. So I'll go ahead and put leaf block there, there, and there. There will be a leaf block going here, but we want to make sure that we build this return station down here first. That way we don't have any issues with the machine just flying off and never coming back. So we'll go ahead and do pretty much the exact same thing we did down there, where we'll go ahead and put in our obsidian backstop. This time we don't need to build another flying machine though, because you only need one flying machine per layer of this. So we'll go ahead and put that block there. Perfect. And now what we're going to do is we're going to build the device that'll actually fire the mechanism. It'll come out here. I suppose these can be any regular building block. Pretty much all we need to do, we want to put a redstone line, or I like to use a repeater, and you can set the repeater to 4 ticks. Oh no! Stole my block. Oh, flying machine works. At the other end, we will go ahead and take care of that. So we're going to make this little cubby here. And we will put a repeater here, set to 4 ticks. Then yet, there we go. Okay. So the machine is docked. Perfect. Okay. So that is ticked like that, and then we will go ahead and pull this out, and then this will feed into our hopper clock, and then once the redstone signal pulses through here, it'll light up, and it will send the observer chain down this way and harvest the kelp once. So then on this end, what we need to do is something very similar. We need to go ahead and put in a system to update, or to put a update onto this observer. So we will go ahead and do something like this. Want to do like this. And then we want a normal piston. Because pistons, when they are extended, are not movable objects. So what you want to do is you want to put a normal piston like this, and then we will go ahead and power that piston. And again, you want to use a repeater, and you want to set it to 4 ticks. If you set it to less than that, it will continue just to cause the flying machine to fluctuate back and forth, and it won't actually send the machine. So with the delay of 4 ticks, it'll have enough time that by the time the piston retracts, the flying machine will already be gone. And then again, this input will just go into our hopper clocks. So then what we're going to do is we're going to place in our leaf blocks just like this. And you want to make sure that, see how it's nice and flush here? And then right here you have a little cutout for the flying machine to go. And then on top of that, we can go ahead and just place in our glass wall. From the layer up from here, you can just place glass. That is just fine. So we'll cut back here. Once I get both ends of the wall sealed in. Okay, so now that we've got both ends of our wall sealed in, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start building in this back area down here. So what I've found works best is we go ahead and we use hoppers. Since hoppers themselves are immovable objects, you can just go ahead and make a small bed here of hoppers. That way, if the flying machine does kick any kelp forward, we'll have a place to land. And then we'll go ahead and we can do this in normal blocks, since the slime is not going to breach back here. And we'll just go ahead and fill in just like this. And you can see here where we've got the flying machine will come through, it'll be flush here, and then any kelp that gets kicked along in front of the machine will have a spot here to drop in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side as well. Just like this. Put our hoppers down here. And I found that double wide hopper is enough. You don't need much more than that. It really doesn't kick out a ton, just enough that if you want to make sure you catch all of it, go ahead and catch all of it. Get here. There we go. Replace that block. Okay, and then we're going to want to go ahead and build this level up one higher. Sure, we did that on the other end as well. Perfect. Because you want to be able to put water source blocks into here. And that's the trick. With water source blocks in the end caps, it's going to be able to refill the pool inside. And that's what we want. We want to make sure that we can keep the pool full of source blocks, so we're going to go ahead. Just going to fill, put in one water layer here, all the way across. There we go. And you can see in here, oh, it has almost all become source blocks, and we are going to go ahead and apply. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and fill in this end as well with water source blocks. Oh, and you can see now the entire pool is water source blocks once these finish updating. Ta-da! Okay. And now that it's all source blocks, we're going to go ahead and we're going to test the flying machine. Just this way you can troubleshoot it at this point and see if it is working or not. So we'll just throw in a simple lever here for now. And you can see the machine fly, and you can see where it pulled any blocks out. Okay, so it looks like we are missing a water source on this side of the pool. So we will go ahead and fix that very quickly. Break that block. Waters. Go. Okay. Go ahead and pull that back. And then let's test it from the other side, and we can see that it's all source blocks, which is important for getting the kelp to float. And when the kelp floats, that's how we harvest it. So that's why we want to preserve that mechanic. So let's go ahead again. We will test this. Okay, and you can see this is the issue that I used to run into a lot, where it would just break the water streams. So what we need to do to fix that leaf block? Yep, okay. That is working mostly. There we go. Yep. And you can see once it filled in, it made it all into source blocks. So let's double check this again just to make sure. Because the goal is between each run we want the water to become source blocks. See, we're still having issues on this side. Let's see what we can do to fix that. Oh, closer. Okay. And there we go. It's back to source blocks. I didn't even have to do anything. It just takes a second for the pool to update. Go ahead and retract that. So that's the guts of the farm built. So what we're going to do next is we'll go ahead and put together these two hopper clocks here that will feed the device, or time the device. They are very simple, so we'll just add on a little platform out here. We'll grab a comparator. There we go. So we need, for the hopper device, we need a redstone dust, a hopper, two hoppers, two comparators, two redstone dust, two building blocks, and a redstone block. And then one observer to fire the device. So hopper clocks are very simple to build. What we're going to do is we're going to build two hoppers that face into each other, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we put comparators coming out. That way, if there's anything in the hopper, you can see it'll light up. And then they'll just keep passing back these items back and forth forever. And then we put a block at the end of the comparator with a redstone dust, just like that. And then a sticky piston. They do have to be sticky pistons. Just like that, facing each other. And then we are going to put in a redstone block. And then what we're going to do is we are going to put in, I used 5 stacks. And you can see as the items are going to filter from one hopper to the other, this redstone block is going to shift back and forth. So what you can do is you can put in a observer right here, and then you can just run in a little bit of redstone, and ta-da! You can see that the torch, once this piston fires, the torch will light, or the observer will fire and light up the repeater, and that will launch the flying machine. So now that we've got one of these built on this end, I'm going to fully stock it real quick. And again, you can use any choice of blocks. The more items that you have in the hopper, the longer between flying machine firings. So just keep that in mind. I found with a full double stack, you get a pretty good return. You don't want to do it too short because you need time for the kelp to grow. That's the sticking point on that. So again, we're going to go ahead and build another hopper clock on this end. We'll have the hoppers facing each other, comparators coming out into solid blocks. The current will then go up into those redstone dust. We will put a sticky piston there, a sticky piston there, a redstone block to share, and then we need our observer, which I didn't leave enough space for, but that's just fine, because you can do observers like that, and then you can bring the signal down from him. Oh, we do not want that. We want... Well, that doesn't quite work either. There we go. That way it will fire, and then as the device fires, we will be able to send our flying machine. So let's get this hopper fully stocked. We're going to put a full 5 into this one as well. 2, 3, 4. And it is important to recognize that you can only put as many items as will fit up in the row of one full hopper. If you try to put more than that, it won't function and the clock will not work. So we're going to go ahead and let that fire. And when this piston fires, it will go ahead and send in the flying machine down to go ahead and push in the kelp. And there we go. We've gone ahead and gotten our machine to fire again. I forgot to not send that block down. Oh. And I just broke it. Thankfully, it's easy enough to fix. We'll just add in these slime blocks back. And you can see all of the kelp here that is floating around. And that's just from, one firing? So, the system is definitely working. And so from here, all we're going to do is we're going to fill up the rest of this with water. Just make sure that they turn into source blocks. And then other than that, these steps this is very easy. And I just want to add in a secondary block here, just in case. You don't have to. I just like to. That way, if anything gets shoved out, it'll redirect itself. See, everything is source block again, which is exactly what we want. Now we'll just keep filling this in and okay. And now we've got our giant swimming pool filled in. What we want to do from here is we want to go ahead and put in a wall up on top. Go all the way around with this, because we're going to be putting in some water streams. And this top layer of water streams we want to make sure are not source blocks. This way the kelp will flow, and that's exactly what we want. So we'll go ahead and make a C shape here. And then in the top layer of the swimming pool that we've got, we're going to go ahead and place in top slabs. This should create a waterlogged slab that is solid on top and having a water source block underneath it. This way we can place our horizontal water streams without any issue. So we're just going to go ahead and fill in this entire area here. Here's the machine again. Okay. And now that we've got our kelp, or our slabs down, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our hoppers here. It is getting to be hopper time. We're going to go ahead and place some water streams on the back edge of our C. There we go. And you can see how this has got a horizontal running water stream, so that way if anything pops up here, you can see it just goes ahead and shoots right off the edge. That is the entire point. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down. You can choose either end that you really want to. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to place our hopper. This is going to be where I'm going to put my downspout. So then we'll break this first layer of slabs. We'll go ahead and put in hoppers just like that. And it should work out so that way when you throw stuff in, yep, they just slide right into the hoppers. Give me 2 seconds and we will put all of our hoppers in. I haven't had issues where it backs up terribly. I don't think the farm output is crazy enough to warrant just using a water stream for it. I think hoppers are just fine. If you are running into server lag issues, you can go ahead and replace these hoppers with a 1 block lower water stream. But again, I don't think it's super needed. The only point that might back up on this is going to be the smoker at the bottom. And if that happens, you can go ahead and just, in the middle here, instead of running them all to one downspout, you can run them into 2 different downspouts, and that should clear up any issues that you have with them. Okay, so there we go. We got this built. And then I like to just put on an extra lip here, just that way, if something's going real quick in the water stream, it doesn't have anywhere to skip out of the system, and it will reduce our losses. Okay. And once we've gotten all of our hoppers put in, we can now go ahead and remove all of the slabs that we put down so tediously just a minute ago. We're gonna go ahead and do that. And you can watch as any kelp in there has reformed, gone to the surface, and then slipped into the hoppers. So we've now gotten the bulk of our water, or the bulk of the collection system done, but what we still need to hook up is we need to hook up these hoppers down here underneath the water streams. So what we're going to do for that is we're just going to go ahead and build a hopper chain that will connect them. And I do this without breaking everything. Boop, boop. There we go. Replace that. So I broke it, and then we'll go ahead and go around the corner just like this. Here. Back these hoppers up. Go. So now that side's plugged in. And go ahead and plug this side in. So nice and easy. Go ahead and plug in this hopper here. Plug back. Go. So now all of our goodies are being fed into this central hopper here. And what we're going to go ahead and do, dig down just a little bit, then put in our smoker. Don't smoke, kids, it's bad for you. And we'll put a hopper down into the smoker. And you can see how it's already starting to fill up with kelp. So that is good. We'll go ahead and put in another hopper here that goes into the side. We'll bring that over. We're going to put a chest on that. And this would be your fuel input. So if you're going to put in some, to start out, just some coal, we can go ahead and do that. This will trickle down into the furnace here, and you can see it'll start putting out the dried kelp. And then underneath the smoker, we're going to go ahead and put a chest over here. I'm going to make it a double chest, just because I don't usually use single chests for outputs. And then we're going to go ahead and have a hopper underneath that will feed over to here, and you can see the dried kelp is already starting to flow through. So what I am noticing while we're chilling at the farm here is a little bit of extra kelp sitting on the side, which is not going into our system, so why don't we go ahead and add in an extra wall to make sure that we can catch as much of it as we can. Do that on the other side. Just act as an extra backstop. So the wall at the end will be one block above the water level. And then I also was noticing, and you can see some kelp here is flowing down, but then it's going straight into this backstop, and it'll be collected down at the end. But what we want to make sure okay, it looks like it's running just fine. Fine. So I'm going to actually not talk for a while, and I'm going to let this farm run for 1 hour, and then we can come back and see how much we have gotten out of it. I will go ahead and fill the smoker up with some coal blocks. That way we don't have to worry about it running out. I will go ahead and pull that out, and we will start our time lapse now for 1 hour. Okay, welcome back. So we went ahead and we did our trial run for 1 hour using the farm. I did do a slight modification during that time. I noticed that there were kelp getting stuck underneath the hoppers. So what I did to fix that is I broke the block one underneath it, so it goes our wall, glass block, and then an open gap here, and you can see the water came streaming in. And then I just added in a row of hoppers here, and this back wall just to catch everything, and then I went ahead and plumbed that down into our other smoker line. I did also have to add in a second smoker, just to help keep up with the supply that was coming in, so you might want 2 or 3 just to make sure. I added in these extra ones just that way we could get a good total of what came through our farm. So I ran this for exactly 1 hour, and then I disabled the hopper the hopper clocks so it didn't keep running. So let's see how much we were able to get out of this little area here. So let's go. Okay, that's pretty good. Almost 3 stacks of kelp blocks for 1 hour on a farm that is, only this big. It's not particularly large, but it is very efficient, it seems, and able to produce quite a bit of kelp. And you can go ahead and recycle those kelp blocks in, and then eventually just have as much kelp as you want. You could use them as fuel for the smokers, or if you have other projects going on in your base, like I'm planning to use mine to fuel a stone generator. But yeah, this farm is freaking awesome. very little loss. I did notice that a couple pieces of kelp will get stuck either like in this redstone, which is unfortunate, but not a lot you can do there. I was considering if you could put in another line of kelp in this other side, but if you did that, you'd want to put in a glass pane right there, because the glass pane won't stick to anything and it'll just act as a sweeper and be able to help clean up this. So you might even be able to get a bit more kelp out of this farm. So I'm very pleased with how much it came out. You saw we got almost 27 stacks of dried kelp out of this thing in just 1 hour. It is extremely efficient. It improves on the rates of the farms that are currently in use. So I appreciate you guys stopping by in my little redstone testing world. If you guys liked the farm, please go ahead and drop a like. If you guys have any other ideas for farms that you want me to go ahead and see if I can rig up a little differently, see if I can improve the rates on them, go ahead and drop those in the comments. But otherwise, thank you guys very much and have a happy steak day.